Counting Birds, The Ideas That Help Save Our Feathered Friends by Heidi E.Y. Stemple, illustrated by Clover Robin. Published by Seagrass. Frank Chapman loved birds. He worked at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, creating exhibits about birds. He wrote books and magazine articles all about birds, and he studied bird habitats and bird habits. He read the research of John James Audubon, the most famous ornithologist of all time. Ornithologist means that they follow or watch birds. And we learned about John James Audubon when he talked about birds migrating, when he tied string to the birds to see if they would come back in the spring. Frank Chapman loved birds. In 1899, he began his own magazine called Bird Lore, and every 2 months, Bird Lore was published and read by other bird lovers. Around this time, Americans were starting to think about the natural world around them. First scientists and poets, then government leaders, and finally more and more regular citizens were starting to talk about conservation. We talked about conservation. Conservation means you want to conserve something or keep it safe. How could they better live in their world? How could they save the wilderness that was disappearing, the forests that were being cut down, the waterways that were being polluted, and the animals and birds that were being overhunted? But not everyone cared about conservation. On Christmas Day, sports hunters would gather, choose teams, and hold a bird competition. All day long, the hunters looked for birds. Large birds, small birds, all birds were up for grabs. At the end of the day, the birds were counted, and the winning team was the side that had shot and killed the most birds. Does that sound good? Does that sound like something we want to do? Frank Chapman did not love this tradition. He did not like it. In the pages of his magazine, he set out to stop it. Now, Bird Lore proposes a new kind of Christmas side hunt in the form of a Christmas bird census, and we hope that all our readers who have the opportunity will aid us in making it a success by spending a portion of Christmas Day with the birds and sending a report of their hunt to Bird Lore before they retire that night. Count them, he proposed, but do not kill them. That first year, on Christmas Day, 1900, 27 birdwatchers in 25 locations from Connecticut to California counted common loons, killdeer, winter wrens, and red-winged blackbirds. They observed hermit thrushes, barred owls, Carolina chickadees, fish crows, turkey vultures, and spotted canyon towhees. In all, Bird Lore proudly reported close to 18,500 birds from 89 different species. So how many thousand cubes is 18,000? That's right, 18,000 cubes. Now we have 500. How many 100 squares do we need for that 500? That's right, 5. So we have 18,000 cubes and 500 squares from 89 different species. So that's a lot of birds, and there are 89 different kinds of them. And not one bird that was watched or observed was killed. This is the barred owl, the red-winged blackbird, the eastern bluebird, the American goldfinch, the purple finch, the hermit thrush, and the killdeer, the turkey vulture, the winter wren, and the common loon. That first count was not the last. Every year in December, more people join the count, and every year more areas are added. And every year, more and more birds are counted in every corner of the United States, as well as Canada, Mexico, and Colombia. Other counts happen all over the world. The owlers are the first ones in the fields. They climb out of their warm beds at midnight and call down owls in the dark. By the light of the moon, they raise their hands to their mouths and whistle. They use recordings of real owls to hoot. They wait and listen, and when an owl calls back, the owlers mark their maps and move on to the next spot. When the sun starts to rise, so do fresh birders who arrive to take over. Some owlers say goodnight and some keep counting. All day long, groups observe and take notes in their count circles. Sandwich terns and song sparrows, creepers, thrashers, bufflehead, brant, and bobwhits. All birds are welcome. Not all bird watchers are in the field, though. Some count the birds that visit their backyard feeders. All birders were welcome. At the end of the day, the birders collect their notes and add their numbers. Later, the National Audubon Society will compile all the data or the numbers and learn many things. How the different weather affects the birds, which species are in trouble or need our help, and what areas need conservation, so which areas need us to protect them more. The birders know this is important for science, but that night what is really important are their stories. Who found the most owls? Which rare birds were spotted? What records were broken? The Audubon Christmas bird count has become the longest-running citizen science project and wildlife census in the world. Everyone wins: the birds, the birders, and science. And all this because Frank Chapman loved birds.